Okay, I've started the recording now that Chris has made it possible, and I'll share you my screen then. And let's open up Photoshop, which is open already. So I'll create a new file, and we'll go see these squirrels a little bit later. So maybe I'll just create a standard A4 document, horizontal this time. Create. Okay, there we go. And I've adjusted the workspace so that it's nice for drawing and painting. And I'll create a new layer for my sketches. And let's have like a nice pencil here. That one is not bad. Okay, so about geometric shapes. I mean, in traditional drawing classes and art schools, you often have these lessons about these three basic shapes, and it's supposedly really important, and but they never tell you why, or at least they didn't tell us why when I was in university. So we have a square and all that goes with it, rectangles, in other words. Then we've got circles and other kinds of round shapes, ellipses. I think this is called an ellipse, isn't it? Yeah. And then we have triangles. Of different kinds of shapes, and students are supposed to come up on their own, usually on the reasons why these are so important. And that's kind of okay, but sometimes people are just like weirded out, like why are they so important? And as flat constructions, they are not as interesting as when they are thought as 3D shapes, by the way. So in better art schools, you also learn how to do these in perspective, like in 3D. And that's often in the first year that you learn a lot of perspective drawing of these basic shapes. And then some people also wonder why that is supposed to be that important. And it is also kind of important. And so on. Also with the like round shapes, yes, you can draw balls, I guess. But what is often also taught is how to draw cylinders. And how to draw those cylinders in perspective, or how to draw, let's say this would be like a coin, how to draw that coin from different perspectives. And still, for some people, this will seem really mysterious. Why should you draw these basic shapes like this? But it starts to dawn on you when you, at the moment when you notice that, for instance, a cylinder shape can be used for an arm or a leg, or a torso. Could be like actually a rectangular shape, a torso of a person, and that will also help you a lot with 3D modeling, because most of the cartooning is also, you also have to think about 3D shapes. So it's not just 2D, although the drawings are on a 2D surface, of course. So you start to see that the importance of drawing simple shapes in perspective is that you can simplify organic shapes using these geometric shapes. That's one use you can have for these. Of course, you can't stay with these geometric shapes forever. Then you have to also know when to change them. But it's a good, like, basic thing to hold in your drawing skills. This basic geometry and basic perspective. So there's a lot of information available on how to draw in perspective, how to draw these basic geometric shapes, and also how to draw the basic human figure. So get that information. If you don't like reading, there's lots of videos, tutorials online, and don't just watch the videos, but also do the exercises. And of course, the world of light and shadow comes at some point here, and some people are really fascinated by that, and they have like a natural sense for light and shadow. I'm not one of them, but I know the basics, of course. So if you're one of those who have the like understanding of how light creates shape, then you might also have very good chances for getting employment later. And that's also really important in 3D worlds, like how to do that. Okay, so that's one reason why these 3 basic shapes are so important. Then there's another reason. So let's go into that. So make these 2 layers invisible, and let's have another one that is visible. So you can combine these basic geometric shapes in order to make any sort of character. And that's often used a lot in cartoons and comic strips. So there's the one, I've added the Etherington Brothers link to the Moodle. So you could use that for the second task of today, for instance. So I'll show how that goes. Basically, you start with this sort of basic shape, which you, like a rectangle, which you divide into three. I'll make three of them first. I think this could be just as well done on paper, of course. Okay, now that I have these rectangles, then I start putting them into three parts. Let's have the first one like this. And then you also change the width of these. And so you try to get different widths and different lengths for these three parts. So it's a kind of fun exercise, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Depends on also a lot on the mood you happen to be in. So for now, I'm working with rectangles, but the other shapes will come into use also fairly quickly. So I don't have any specific plan yet. I'm just playing around. But I do try to change to have some contrast between these. So this is actually not that good, but maybe it will work. Let's see. Okay, then the second part here. So this was part one, dividing these. The second part, I'll make a new layer for those. Maybe also a slightly different color. Okay. Then I will change the geometric shape of these. Some of them will stay rectangles, but some of them will be pear-shaped or round or triangular. Let's make this triangular. And at this point, I may be already thinking about. So tapering shapes are usually a good way of getting dynamic characters out of your. And of course, these will be the legs at the end. So let's have something roundish over here. So I'll take the round theme, and maybe use pear shapes. And they can, at this point, these shapes can also overlap. I think you might understand now what's going on here. So I'm going step by step towards something that might become a human or animal character. So here I take like a round shape and a pear shape and put them together in an hourglass. That's the same sort of hourglass here as well. There we go. And I'm also going to work away from the only having everything in the 2D world. I'm going towards 3D, or thinking about these characters as 3D characters. So let's have another layer, and let's change the color again to bluish. The color changes don't matter. It's just so that you can see the different phases here. Maybe also it's for me. Okay, so I'll try to keep this character as like spiky as possible. And now when I'm getting to the actual drawing, it might be at some point I can't speak anymore, because the things that are verbally there and drawing, they come usually from different parts of the brain. So thinking in 3D and talking, drawing and talking are usually not compatible. And they don't need to be fully, these characters don't need to be fully symmetrical. You can give them a little bit of life. And if things go wrong, then just don't be too precious with your work, but just use the eraser whenever you need it. Try to keep the triangular shapes working here, but in the same time also give it some 3D appearance, so that this might be a character that could be made into, that I could make it into a 3D model at some point if I wanted to. Yeah, I think this kind of pants would work here. And yes, it's a cat, so it should have also some kind of paws here. Try to keep the tail spiky also. Of course, with this character, I need to then make at some point, like I would have to turn them around and see what they look from the other side and so on. And the length of the hands is not ideal. The other hand is shorter than the other. So yeah. So here I would try to keep these round shapes. And become this kind of creepy child, maybe. Sure, if it's a child, then it has also fairly small feet. But if it's a grown up, then it shouldn't have small feet. And I try to look for contrasts so that small, like a short, roundish body and a really big head, they are usually funny. Or that you have an almost bald head with just a little bit of hair, or you might have like a small head and lots of hair. Okay, let's have this one like that, by the way. This could be a very big hair. And this would be a female character. This could be a skirt. And as you can see, I'm not slavishly following the original structure, but I'm just letting the characters go where they want to go. So whatever works. And yeah, tapering stuff is usually a good idea. Maybe she could have puffy sleeves. Something like that. So that would be the one of the ways you could tackle like the task number 2. Yeah, you can see that my concentration broke at this point with this character. Yeah. And often it's also good to ground your character with a little bit of ground, so that you know where they stand. Okay, questions about this method? Okay, let's go to the second task, or actually the first task about the analyzing characters. So here I have the link for, well, Kamala Luonto, which is one of the fairly well-known and popular cartoon strip series in Finland right now. And yes, it's ironic that the word Kamala in Finnish does mean horrible or terrible. Okay, so Kamala Luonto is about these animals living in a forest. There we go. There we have the, let's say, 3 main characters who are there in most of the strips. But as you can see from here, there are also lots and lots of other characters. But I'd say most of the strips have either, well, the lynx. I'm guessing that the lynx is the like protagonist, but we also have a lot of strips of the fox, and then the, what was it called in English? It's a kärpä. What is kärpä in English? Translate kärpä. Ermine or stoat. Okay, let's call him a stoat. Yeah. So these 2 animals, the stoat and the lynx, they are best friends, and the fox is kind of their friend, but also he's a bit too crazy to be anybody's like closest friends. Although there's also the badger, no, the beaver, sorry. That is the, I think the fox is maybe closer to the beaver than the lynx or the stoat. And they all have their own personalities, of course. which are pretty distinct. There's also the elk character, who's fairly different from the others again. There we have him. And as you can see, they are all anthropomorphized animals. And although they do live in the forest, they all walk on two legs, and they, they talk, of course. We also have, which other character should I show you? Okay, there's the beaver again. And do we have any of the rabbits? They are fun too. There are some of the rabbit characters, and yes, this is not a series aimed for children directly, not directly, but for grown-ups. So there is violence, like there is in nature, and the beast characters, they are or predator characters are always looking to kill the rabbits, and often they do. And you can, and often it's also shown in the strip how they eat those rabbits, or how they attack the rabbits. That's not something that you ever see in, let's say, The Lion King. Okay, there they are eating, and you can see straight away that it's a rabbit that they are eating. And here they are attacking one of the rabbits. Okay, that much about the series. Let's talk about the design of the characters, because that's what I was going to go into. So I'll take this image and save it and open it up in Photoshop so I can then do the analysis of the shapes. Come on, Wand. Back to Photoshop. And now, 5 minutes after I have drawn those characters, I already hate them. So, okay, I'll make this bigger so I can have this image side by side with others. Canvas size. It's very small now, so let's make it bigger. There we go. And I'll just take this on its own layer. Fill the back layer with white. Did it do it? No. Okay, let's make another layer and fill that with white then. There we go. So now I can move this around as I want to. Oh, now I know why it didn't want to fill anything. Okay. I did it the wrong way, it seems. But anyway, I'll move this over here. And then let's have another layer on it where I can do the actual analysis. Or I might just as well copy just this one on another layer and then get rid of this huge layer here. Better like this. Okay, so this wasn't actually very important, but now I have it in the size that I wanted to have it. And I need to get my pencil a little bit smaller. Okay, so let's start maybe with a Link's character, because he, as I said, he's kind of the protagonist here. So if I start out with the main shape that I see, I can see his body, which is basically a round shape, or maybe an almost circle ellipse. And also his feet are very round. His head is nearly as big as his body, but not quite. And it's a little bit overlapping with the body, like often if you have a person who is corpulent, then you don't see much of a neck to them. So this might be also, it's a, I think the basic shape for the head is also round with a bit of tapering for the cheeks. And the eyes are huge. How huge is the question? And they are also very roundish in shape, but not quite round. And as a contrast, his snout is really small. And all in all, the character has been designed so that the artist can draw it really quickly. Like if you think you need six strips per week and then also a Sunday strip, you need to have characters that are not too complex. And again, I'm not taking enough account of the perspective here, which is one of my failings as a draughtswoman. And by the way, his head is not quite straight. That's one mistake I did, by the way. Another mistake. His head is a little bit kallela or tilted, which makes him look more alive also. And his fingers, he has 4 fingers and they are short and stubby, which goes well together with the character shape in general. You also need to have this sort of really simple shape when you're doing 2D animation, especially if it's drawn animation. And usually he has this sort of vacant look on his face. And lynxes usually have quite big ears, I think, but he has these small ears which go well together with his character. And then there we have these, well, they are basically triangles. There's a lot of triangle shape going on here, and also in his what's it called? These sideburns. And these three characters are grown-up characters, but there's also been like illustrated books where they are still children, and they are then targeted for kid readers. Okay, and I see I've done a bit of a mistake here with where the foot goes. Anyway, there's a dynamic structure to all of these, so you can make all of these characters do whatever you want. So they don't just stand still, but they can do all kinds of actions. And that's one other important thing for a cartoon character, that it can do things. Okay, then we have the fox. So basically I would be doing then the same sort of analysis for the fox. Here we have a pear shape for the body. So it's best usually to start from the body and then analyze the size of the head and basic shape of the head. The fox is usually shouting something, so that's actually his basic expression, that his mouth is really wide open and you can see his tongue. And he has these really long and thin arms, which go well together with his character, because he often goes around waving his arms and shouting. And then his legs are relatively short. Then we have the bear character and the elk character, who have, again, different kinds of relationships with their body parts. And then we have the fox has also a tail. Okay, so that kind of stuff would be for the analysis task. Do you have questions at this point? And yeah, like I said earlier, it's really horrible trying to talk and draw at the same time. So it usually affects one or the other ability. what I find funny with these characters, and I think it's also meant to be funny, is that the perspective of the eyes is not like you would think it would be. Usually, the eye that is further away from the viewer is drawn smaller. And of course, if you have a 3D character in Blender, then that's how it will work. But here, fairly often the eye that is further off is bigger, which makes it kind of funny looking. Okay, so this should have clarified the analysis task, how you could do it. So I could write peer here. So this is what I meant, that you could have some like text there as well. Triangle ears and so on. So basically, cartoons have been around for a long time. I mean, doing cartoon characters, and with a long time, I mean a very long time. So they've been at least around since ancient Egypt, and that was a couple of thousand years ago. So we have found these, I think they're called ostracons, where you have these shards of clay, shards of clay pots, and then you have okay, let's see, ancient Egyptian cartoons. No, I didn't mean this. There we have ostracons. Okay, so you are all grown up, so I don't think that will shock you in any way. So here's what they have. This is maybe 3,000 or years old, or maybe older, where we have a rich lady who's depicted as a mouse. And then we have a cat that is the like servant of to that rich lady. So a cat serving a mouse, it was funny at the time, I'm guessing. But yeah, you have these are basically cartoons, animal characters that have been anthropomorphized, and because there are quite many shots like this, from that I'm guessing that it was a really something that people and artists did a lot at the time, because so much from that time has been destroyed, of course. Many of these are just sketches for bigger things, for bigger paintings, but we have also found other kinds of ostracons. Okay, and we have this. Here we have another one where we have a cat and a mouse giving some sort of whipping to a boy, and it's again I think it's a cat or mouse bureaucrat who's telling the cat to do the mouse what to do, or I'm guessing this is part of some story that we have a cat who's herding some ducks. Okay, I could go on and on with these, but let's go and have something more modern. Let's have ancient, not ancient anymore. Let's have French political cartoons from the 1700s. I mean, newspapers started printing at that point, and there were also cartoons going around, like people were selling these in marketplaces and stuff. So as you can see, they were also in color at that time. So political cartoons have been around for longer than from the 1700s. I mean, monks and nuns also did some cartoons in the books that they copied in the Middle Ages. So in the margins, there were often political satire cartoons or just cartoons for fun. So not all of it was religious. I mean, yeah, there's a fairly well-known cartoon. I think we had it in our history book at school. Okay. So political cartoons and making caricatures of politicians and other well-known people. It's a like well-known sport for artists. It has been around for a long time. Okay, here I think perhaps England and France are dividing the world with each other, or maybe Spain. And here's a cartoon ridiculing the fashions of that day. That you have, there was this time when the women's skirts were really, really large. There was also a practical purpose, by the way, for having very wide skirts. But let's not go into that now. Okay, this is also pretty funny. Like a politician that is only a hat and a boot. Of course, styles for cartoons and they change by the times. For us, this looks pretty old-fashioned, I'm guessing. But let's go to a place called not Webtoons. Let's go to Go Comics. So there is one place, well, which has a lot of comics and also editorial cartoons. So this is one comic that I'm following, by the way, but let's not go there now. Or comics A to Z. So there's classic comics, political cartoons. Let's go see some of them. Okay, Views Africa, Views of the World. See what there is. So I'm guessing they are collecting political cartoons from different parts of the world here. That was from the Netherlands. It's also someone from the Netherlands. So you often take like a subject that is in the news and then think about what kind of cartoon it could make. In the like 20th century, they were mostly black and white. As you saw earlier in the 1700s, they were in color, and now in the 2000s, the like most of them are also in color, or at least many of them. Let's see, the Finnish Ville Ranta, who's now doing political cartoons for Helsingin Sanomat. There we go. So as you can see, he's also using color. So this is, so now he has like mostly he has Finnish topics, but this is an international one. So it says Grandpa Joe as a babysitter, and he's saying, "Oh no, where did that boy go again?" So you take an international situation and put it into another context, like an old guy being a babysitter in a very rowdy sandbox. And I'm guessing I don't need to explain this to you. And let's go to The Guardian, which is a British newspaper and website, which also has pretty good political cartoons. So there is a constant demand for these, by the way. And that's one reason why I'm showing this to you, cartoons. So here we have both comics, and then we have political cartoons like this Martin Rowson and Ben Jennings, who are, there you go. And these are pretty dark, often, also in like they are dark graphically and dark in other ways. So as you can see, this is not meant for children, but for grown-ups, style-wise. There's an other artist, Ben Jennings. So this is more about British politics, I think, or mostly. Then he is one artist with a lighter touch, Fiona Katauska, but the so she's also often using the comic strip. And you notice that many of these characters are also fairly simplified, but with the political cartoons, they can be sometimes more. You can put more effort into those often. Right. So I think I went through all of the three tasks, but the third. So I think let's go into that, unless you have questions right now. So third task. Cartoon character with the constructional method. So what's the constructional method? Let's see. So the idea is to start by sketching an animal from a photo or live model in a fairly realistic way. What I did, this time I chose a squirrel, a red squirrel. So let's see if I have them here. There are some red squirrels that I took. Some of them were from Wikipedia, some of them were from Adobe stock library. So, by the way, if you have the Adobe CS licenses, then I hope you also use the stock library. Here we have squirrels in different positions, squirrels from different angles. So first try to find many kinds of images of squirrels. And I also found a picture of the squirrel's anatomy, the skeleton basically, and helpfully it also showed how it's connected to the tissues and skin and hair. The eyes are actually pretty huge, and so are the front and front teeth and bottom teeth. And I also noticed that the shape of the toes is interesting. So very, let's say, ape or even human-like in some sense. So once I had these images, and I started sketching squirrels, so that I had the photos side by side of the. Usually, I would have done this sketching phase on paper, having the squirrel on screen, but at this point, I wanted to show you the process quickly digitally. So here were some of the sketches that I made from the photos. As you can see, I haven't really grasped the shape of the head yet properly, but I did like the way that how much fur there was on the legs, on both forelegs and hind legs, except where it mattered that there was not so much fur. So I knew that there are lots of cute versions of squirrels, and I wanted to keep these non-cute. So because just to go to a different direction and maybe to something to keep away from the like stereotypical cute squirrel imagery. So of course I did other stuff as well. Let's see. Here. No. This. Let's go to the other squirrel that I've got here. Here I tried to get a better understanding of what the squirrel would look like from the front. And again, I tried to keep away from the cute look, because I was also thinking of the squirrel from the point of view of the squirrel. And I mean, I don't think squirrels think of themselves as cute, if they think of themselves at all, or if they would think of themselves. Okay, let's have these away now. Okay, here you can see that I was going a little bit more into the direction of humanizing or anthropomorphizing the characters, but still keeping it as a squirrel so that it can be weirdly positioned in trees. Also, I tried to have this typical position of a squirrel where it's holding something and sitting as non-cute. So I'm thinking of a like thieving squirrel here, or maybe a military squirrel. How would that look like? This I don't like at all here, and I would need to change the shape of the snout altogether. Okay, and I went one step further into making it go on two legs, because, well, squirrels do that naturally anyway. They often go up on two legs, but this went a little bit further into this humanizing direction. So still going on trees still anyway. And I was also thinking about the ear, that it's really a small ear, almost like a rat's ear, but it just has this kind of fur attached to it. So I tried to get some attitude to the squirrel, and also think about this like huge fur that it has on the legs. And also here, I'm pretty happy with this, although it's a so I try to get human-like emotions for these squirrels, and also to simplify the shape. So if I wanted to make these into fully cartoon characters, then I would have to go a few steps further, but then my time was up and I stopped here. And that's how far also you need to go for your animal. But if you have the inspiration and time, then of course you can go further and do some less sketchy stuff, but you don't have to. Okay, any questions? So if there's stuff in the chat, I can see.
There's no questions in the chat.
Okay. Okay, I'll stop the sharing and I'll stop the recording as well, because that's as much as I had to say for the lesson part.